My name is Todd and I'm the founder of Ashaya Yoga. Welcome to Asana Spotlight. Great to be with you. Hey, please share this experience with those you know and spread the light, spread the love. That's how we do it. And I appreciate that. So thanks for being here. Asana Spotlight is a time where we take one pose and sort of break it down, go into a little bit more detail. And the pose I want to work with today is Tadasana, the mountain pose. Tada means mountain. And it's such a common pose, it's very much overlooked, but there's a lot of subtlety and a lot of nuance to how to actually stand. And then how we stand really affects how we walk and how we go through the rest of our day. So I think you're going to find that you're going to be able to stand and feel much more centered than ever before. So let me talk a little bit about the metaphor of the mountain because it's such a powerful metaphor, especially for today. So mountains are stable, they're strong, seemingly unmovable, although they do tend to move. They represent this unwavering commitment to presence, to just be there. And in their presence, there's so much beauty. In their presence, they're also very nurturing because they are a host to so much wildlife, so many trees and all of nature. And as strong and kind of stoic as they are also vulnerable. Vulnerability is another kind of strength. It's like strength on the inside. Mountains are sort of vulnerable to, of course, the wind and the dryness of the sun, and then, of course, the fires. So all the five elements really play themselves out on the mountain, and the mountain doesn't fight back. I mean, it's just exposed. And that's a strength, too, how to stand your ground, even when there's challenging things coming to you in life. And it's really this combination of sort of an outward strength, but also the inward vulnerability that makes us who we are. And so many people don't allow their vulnerability to be a strength. And I'll always remember my dad, who passed away about 3 years ago now, and he represented that mountain for me. He was a stabilizing force for me in my life, really well disciplined, kind of a perfectionist, but he had so many different qualities that were so great. You know, this unwavering commitment to, pursuing his dreams, to his life. And he didn't really show his vulnerability that much, but, knowing him the way that I did, he had this soft side. In fact, he was kind of a mushball on the inside. Easily moved to tears when it had to do with family and other things. And then he was a musician, sort of on the side. And whenever he played, that's when his softness would come out. I'll never forget that. Of course, that influenced me. I became a musician the earlier part of my life, and still love music and play it today. So really to consider the mountain as not just this stoic, rigid figure, but it's actually quite flexible and free to shift. Mountains do change, but over, thousands of years, even hundreds of thousands of years. So I love that quality of just having this steady commitment and steadfastness. All right, so you're going to need a chair and a block. Foam blocks are better, but you can use a wood block. If you don't have a yoga block, you could use sort of a large book or a dictionary, something like that. All right, so join me standing at the top of your mat. So when we talk about Tadasana, which is basically just standing in good alignment, we have to look at the foundation. Whatever touches the floor is the foundation. All foundations have four corners. So just think of a chair or a table. What makes them stable is there are four posts that go into the ground. So same thing, there are four corners of the feet. The four corners are very specific. In the Ashaya Method, we start with the big toe ball mound. When you walk, we need to learn how to push off with the big toe ball mound. Now, many people supinate their feet, meaning that they roll to the outside of the foot, which kind of creates bow-leggedness and a lot of imbalance in the arch of the feet. Other people pronate, and then the knees will knock in, the arches on the inner edges of the feet are dropped. It's called fallen arches. So it's really important that we get that big toe ball mound to touch the floor first. So lift your toes, and also we want to get the feet hip distance apart. So, wider stance, like the mountain, we could say, is more stable, but it's less flexible. So remember, we're trying to balance out the stability and the freedom of the mountain. So when you stand, and some traditions do this, which is fine, with the feet together, then you have a lot of freedom, but you don't have much stability, easily blown over by the wind. So we're going to take a stance that's right in the middle. The second toe lines are as wide as the frontal hip bones, and then you get the feet parallel instead of toed out. This is sort of typically how people stand. Now, when you stand with your feet out like this, I'll give you the side view. What happens, tendency is that the feet turn out and it throws the thigh bones forward, which contracts the low back and diminishes the curve. A lot of problems there with toeing out, and it's common. And why is that so common if it's not good alignment? Well, it's the design of our pelvis and the design of our legs. Your hamstring muscles, which are 3 muscles, that's the back of the thighs, they have an external weave. How interesting. So if we just go with that, as we go through life and as we age, actually, those muscles get tighter and tighter until they're going to just turn us out. So I think we have these sort of weirdness things in our body so that we can learn how to balance them, and through getting them balanced, we become like the mountain, which is stable against challenging odds. So feet parallel is going to challenge your hamstrings. It's going to loosen them up, actually. And then you roll your thighs in, stick your butt out, and pull your tailbone down. So big toe ball mound, feet parallel, feet hip distance apart. Then you pull back from the big toe ball mound to the inner heel, just the inner edge of the heel. So lift your toes and imagine you could pull isometrically, big toe to inner heel. Now keep those 2 points down, and then go from the inner heel to the little toe ball mound. So you diagonally fan the feet out without moving them. And that's going to enhance the transverse arch. There's 3 arches to the feet. Transverse is between big toe ball mound and little toe ball mound. We already did the medial arch, which is big toe ball mound to inner heel. Now keep those 3 points down, and here's the last one. This kind of tightens things up. If you pull back from the little toe ball mound all the way back to the outer heel, it's going to try to push your thighs in an external rotation. But since you've already pulled big toe to inner heel back, it kind of locks in the inner rotation, and then all you're doing is you add the outer rotation. So little toe to outer heel, that hugs the shins. It creates all kinds of stability. And the interesting thing is that the 5 toes are related to the 5 elements. So the little toe is earth, and mountains are full of earth. So you want to pull the earth element, little toe, back to the outer heel, and that gives you your lateral arch. I think one of the biggest things about Tadasana, and if you work with the 4 foundations, it increases your balance. And balance is a huge factor as we get up there in our years. Because what happens is you lose the flexibility of your feet, you lose the balance, and then it's hard to walk, it's hard to get around, and then you fall, break your hip or whatever. So in terms of our sort of longevity and maintaining good health, that when you work with your toes and your feet this way, and in the Tadasana pose, which we're going to put it all together in a moment, that you maintain sort of the staying centered, staying stable, even as life changes and the seasons change. Okay, the mountain remains steadfast. All right, those are the 4 corners. Now, one of the things that happens is the tissue on the bottom of our feet, the connective tissue, the fascia, gets really tight. So I found this to be a really great exercise. So you take a foam block, or whatever you have is fine, and you put it on your mat. You bring a chair, so at least 2 of the legs are on your sticky mat, and you're going to put your hands on the chair for support, and then step your right foot up onto the block, and just start with just below the ball mounds there. Step your left foot back, turn the left foot so it's in quite a bit, about 60 degrees or so. Hips are square to the front. And then push the base of your shin down and try to catch the skin on the bottom of your foot. Spread your toes. And your heel should be off the floor. So you can see my heel's not on the floor. And you root the base of your shin. You should feel a little stretch in the bottom of your foot and also a stretch through the hamstrings. Then slide your foot up to halfway, and right at the middle of the foot, there's a little more sensation here. If it hurts, it should hurt good. And you isometrically now pull toward the floor, and then bring your foot all the way up on the block so you're just above the heel. Lift your toes, and then dig the edge of the block right in the tissue above your heel. And then we're going to do a little side to side motion like this. A little side to side. And as you turn side to side, start to slide your foot little by little toward the floor. Each time you turn to one side, you're going to go a little bit further down. And in this way, try to catch the tissue, the bottom of the foot on the block. And as you go side to side, you stretch. And this is really good to prevent plantar fasciitis, which is a strain to the plantar fascia on the bottom of the foot. Repetitive stress injury usually, or just poor arches in your shoes. Okay, very good. Okay, now just stand. I'd like you to feel and sense the difference between the two sides. So my right foot now feels a lot wider, my leg feels longer, and I feel the earth much more. So we opened up sensitivity here because we loosened up the fascia. Hands on the chair, bring the left foot up. Start off just below the ball mounds, root the base of your shin. Step your back foot back about 2 feet. It's not very far back. But keep a sharp angle on the right foot, hips square to the front. Root the base of the left shin down and try to catch the skin on the bottom of the foot so it doesn't move on the block. Then move the foot halfway up, so now you're at the middle of the arch. Lift your toes, root the base of your shin down, and breathe. And then just above the heel, lift your toes and isometrically root the base of your shin toward the floor. And now we're going to move side to side with the foot. And as you move side to side, slowly slide the foot down the block. It can be a little painful at times, so just use a little less pressure, back off a little bit. But you want to be able to feel the resistance and a little bit of stretch. Side to side, actually feels really good. Spread your toes. Very good. And then go all the way to the ball mounds. Pause, root the base of the shin toward the floor. Now you might be able to get your heel on the floor. And release. Very good. Okay, come stand. Come to the front of your mat. Feet hip distance, feet parallel. The front ankle, second toe lines are parallel. And then just widen your toes. Just spread the toes and try to widen the feet. Engage the four corners. Big toe ball mound, inner heel. Little toe ball mound, outer heel. And then palms in front. Thigh bones back, tailbone in. Inhale and stretch your arms up. This is Urdhva Hasta Tadasana, so upward, hands are up overhead. We'll come back to it in a second. Exhale and fold forward, lightly touch the floor. And breathe. And then step back, downward dog pose. Alternately press the heels toward the floor, bend the opposite knee. Now already you can feel how much looser the legs are and the feet are just from doing that plantar fascia stretch. My goodness, my heels are going down to the floor easier than ever before. So I've never done that foot exercise before downward dog. I always do a down dog first, but that was really good. Bend both knees. Okay, lift your sitting bones way up. Push the big toe ball mound into the floor and then pull back to the inner heel. Heels are off the floor. Then little toe ball mound to the outer heel. Hug your shins. Move your thigh bones a little wider, sitting bones wide, tailbone in. And then push the base of your shins back. And from your heart, just push down through your hands. Keep your armpits up. And from your heart, push your heels. And then exhale, right foot forward into lunge. Come up, hands to hips. Feel how wide your right foot is. So as we just open it up, you should have like a lot of balance here. And then inhale, stretch your arms. Just doing a little stretch for the hips and the psoas muscle. Lift your left thigh a little higher. Tailbone in, arch back. Take a moment and visualize your favorite mountain. If you have ever hiked or driven up a mountain, just the view from the top is amazing. Sweep your arms out to the side and down. Step back, downward dog pose. Take a big breath in. And then exhale, left foot forward, hands to hips, just a little warrior lunge. Now the right thigh lifts up toward the sky, left hip toward the earth. Inhale, stretch your arms. From your pelvic core, push your right heel back, and from your pelvis, push your left shin forward. So you're going to get this feeling of stretch through the hips, through the legs. And then rise up, arch back. Let yourself feel the fullness and the vastness of the mountains. Think of the mountain as part of a range of mountains, a community of mountains. And then exhale. Release, touch the floor, and step your right foot forward. Feet parallel. Get good Tadasana alignment. And then root your feet to the earth. As you inhale, sweep your arms out to the side, rise up, and exhale. Release, palms in front. Okay, now we're going to do one more little warm-up exercise before we do the official mountain pose. For this, we need to come and sit. So get a couple of blankets stacked up so you're comfortable when you sit. And take your right foot. We want to just get to the exposure to the bottom of the foot. You can do it in a chair as well. But I'd like you to take loose fists, left hand, and you're going to pummel the bottom of your foot. Lovingly, of course. But I want you to stimulate the bottom of your foot. And you can pound it pretty hard. It feels good. And here we're triggering all the different acupressure points. You've probably heard of foot reflexology, where the bottom of the foot is related to your entire organ system up in the body. Then with your thumbs, massage the inner arch of the foot from big toe ball mound to inner heel. That should feel good. Okay. All right, now this is called interdigitation. Are you ready? Take your fingers. You're going to interweave fingers into the toes. And then push your fingers as far down into the roots of the toes as you can. Yes, it will hurt, but it should hurt good. Breathe into it. The fascia, the bottoms of the feet and also between the toes tend to be really, really tight. Partly just from years of misalignment, but also sometimes jamming our feet into shoes that don't really fit. All right, very good. Now, squeeze your toe muscles against your fingers. And then spread your fingers against the toes. Squeeze, spread, squeeze, spread, squeeze, spread, and release. Now we're going to go over the top of the foot. So you use your right hand to the right foot, and you might have to switch your position here, but I'd like you to try to get your fingers interwoven with your toes from the top of the foot position. And this is a little tighter because the fascia on the top of the foot is tighter than the bottom typically. And push your fingers all the way down and then squeeze toes against your fingers. Then spread your fingers against your toes. Squeeze, spread, squeeze, spread. Get your toe muscles to activate so they have to engage and pinch and squeeze, and then relax them while you widen your fingers and spread. Very good. Okay, put both feet parallel and just lift and spread your toes. Notice any difference on the right foot compared to the left. You might be able to spread your toes a little wider on that foot. So just doing a minute or two of these stretches gives you a little more space between the toes, which is going to help your mountain pose. Switch. Pummel left foot. This increases circulation. Also gets rid of some of the tensions in the feet. A little bit like a foot massage. Then take your thumbs to the inner arch and just massage, press in, work the tissue there. And you may find some areas that are quite tender. And just be more sensitive around those. And then with your right hand, you're going to go from the bottom of the foot, fingers between toes, interdigitate your fingers with your toes, and then squeeze your toes into the fingers, then spread your fingers against the toes. Squeeze, spread, squeeze, spread, squeeze, spread, and then switch your hands, and you're going to have to finagle your position to try to get whichever position is going to work for you, and interweave your fingers now into the toes from above. And then push your fingers further down toward the roots. That's it. And then squeeze the toes against your fingers and then spread. Squeeze, spread. Squeeze, spread. A little bit of pain is actually a good sign. It should hurt good. It's called toga when you do yoga for your toes. All right. And release. Okay, come up to standing. Grand finale. We need some music like Chariots of Fire or something. Okay, Bring your feet hip distance. Make sure the second toe front ankle lines are parallel. I want you to find the place in the middle between too much stability, too much freedom. Then lift and spread your toes. Capture the four corners of your feet and just focus on big toe ball mound. Just place the big toe ball mound on the floor. Pull back to the inner heel. Widen out to the little toe ball mound and pull back to the outer heel. So all four corners of your foundation now should be activated, like radiant with light. In doing the four corners of the feet, the three arches engage. Fallen arches wake up and they start to lift a little bit more. So fallen arches, when you have sort of like weak arches in your feet are like a diaphragm. It affects the pelvic diaphragm, and that kind of, releases and gets really weak. And we want to have a very strong pelvic diaphragm that holds all of our organs in there. It's good pelvic health. Palms in front, thighs roll in. Keeping the thighs back now, pull your tailbone in. Now, it's a lot of strain to keep the toes up, so I want you to maintain muscles against bones, steadfast in the legs, but stretch your toes out and lightly bring the toes down. But continue to scissor your legs and pull your feet toward the middle, ankles toward the middle, inner knees hug, everything squeezes into the middle. Then, while you hold your muscles in toward the middle, you widen your thighs, tailbone in. From your pelvic core now, root down through your leg bones and telescope your bones into the earth. Even the four corners root, but the arches stay lifted. Okay? One of the things we do to create more engagement is pull up from the periphery to the core. So the core is your pelvis. You're going to pull up from the four corners into the pelvis and actually try to lift both feet off the floor now without jumping. Yeah. Now everything rises up. You can lift your toes again here. I want you to really feel the engagement of muscles. Okay, now maintain that. Thighs back, tailbone in, and then root your bones into the earth. There's a little bit of an isometric of an in and up action from the legs and a down and out action from the bones. Now palms in front of your heart, lift your side ribs, take your shoulders back, shoulder blades hug. Lift your throat, take your palate slightly back, and lift the back of your skull. So you can place the center of your palate right over your heart, right over your pelvis. From your pelvic core, root down into the earth. Check your feet again. Make sure they have not turned out. My right foot just slightly turned out, just as I was talking there. Okay. And now be in the presence of the mountain. And we're going to do Urdhva Hasta Tadasana. It's just a variation. Inhale, stretch your arms out to the side and up. Cast your gaze out in front of you on a non-moving point. Breathe. Pull the inner thighs back. Pull your armpits back, inner armpits back. From your pelvic core, push evenly down into your feet and then grow your spine from your pelvis. Rise up. The more you root like a mountain, the more you can rise. And take a moment to be unwavering in the stillness of the mountain. The mountain carries at its peak a vision of beauty, a vision of greatness. Draw into your vision for your own self, for your life. What is the world that you want to live in? Bring that forth now. And being steady and strong on the outside, yet vulnerable, exposed to the elements, and how to stand your ground in the storms, in some of the most adverse conditions the mountain remains. Even as the seasons change and blow through, especially when winter comes, the mountain freezes at the top. It stays strong, it stays alive. Take in all the elements, earth, water, fire, air, and sky, and reach the top of your head and your fingertips, your peak, into the sky element, Akasha, where you're exposed to all possibilities, where you drink in the experience of grace. Soften your eyes, see if you can be one with the mountain as you hold. Perfectly steady between earth and sky. And then exhale. Sweep your arms slowly down. Palms in front of the heart. And then draw into your heart where earth and sky meet, where freedom and stability dance. May we bring freedom and stability more alive in our life today. May we find a deeper groundedness and balance in all that we do. Let's take a deep breath now, and in gratitude for our little practice together, let's channel. The mountain in me bows to the mountain in you. Namaste. Have a great day, everybody. Thank you. See you next time.